If you thought the F-16 was getting old and ready for retirement, you need to pay attention to what is happening right now across dozens of air bases from Taiwan to Greece, from South Korea to Morocco. Because while everyone has been watching the F-35 and talking about sixth-generation fighters, the United States and its allies have been quietly pouring over $25 billion into turning a fighter that first flew in 1974 into something that can face the threats of 2030 and beyond. They're calling it the F-16V. The V stands for Viper. And what they are doing is not just patching up an old workhorse. They are ripping out the brain, the eyes, the nervous system of one of the most produced fighters in history and replacing it with technology that did not exist when this jet was born. The result is an aircraft that can see farther, kill smarter, and survive longer than almost anyone outside the defense community realizes. So here's the question that should make you uncomfortable. The 50-year-old airframe design is worth $25 billion in upgrades across multiple continents. What does that tell you about the actual state of air combat in the 2020s? And more importantly, when Taiwan puts nearly its entire fighter fleet through this transformation, when Greece accelerates its Viper program while watching the Eastern Mediterranean, when South Korea and Singapore both commit billions to the same standard, what are they preparing for that the rest of us are not seeing yet? Do not look away. We are going to break down exactly what makes the F-16V different, why it is spreading across the globe faster than almost any other fighter upgrade in history, and what it means when countries that face very real, very immediate threats are betting their air superiority on a jet that was designed during the Cold War but is being reborn for the wars of tomorrow. Before we talk about who is buying it and why, you need to understand what the F-16V actually is.
All right, VNE's clear.
VNE's clear.
Radar age. Here comes the pull. Going up.
Walk up to one on the ramp, and at first glance it looks like every other F-16 you have seen in photos for the past 40 years. Same basic shape, same single engine, same relatively compact size. But the moment you look inside the cockpit or peek at the radar system, you realize this is not the same aircraft at all. The centerpiece of the transformation is the APG-83SABR radar. Active Electronically Scanned Array. In plain language, this is the same family of radar technology that sits inside the nose of an F-22 and F-35, just scaled to fit the smaller F-16 nose cone. The old mechanically scanned radars had to physically rotate a dish to sweep the sky. The APG-83 uses thousands of tiny transmit-receive modules that can change the direction and shape of the radar beam electronically, almost instantly. What does that mean in a fight? It means the F-16V can track multiple targets simultaneously while also jamming enemy radars and maintaining situational awareness across a far wider area than the older models ever could. The detection range is roughly double what the previous APG-68 could manage. So when an older F-16 might pick up a target at 80 kilometers, the Viper can see that same target at over 150 kilometers, sometimes farther depending on conditions and the radar cross-section of the threat. But range is only half the story. The APG-83 can also switch between air-to-air search, air-to-ground mapping, and electronic attack modes in seconds. One moment it is hunting enemy fighters, the next moment it is painting a precise ground target for a weapon release. And it is doing all of this while being far harder to detect and jam than the radars it replaced. Now pair that new radar with a completely redesigned cockpit. Gone is the old layout with dozens of analog gauges and small monochrome displays. The F-16V pilot sits in front of a large, center-color touchscreen display and 2 additional high-resolution screens. Everything flows through a modern mission computer that fuses data from the radar, the targeting pod, the electronic warfare suite, and the data link into one clear tactical picture. This is not just about looking cooler. It is about reducing cognitive load. A pilot does not have to scan 5 different instruments to figure out where the threats are and what weapons are available. The system does the heavy lifting and presents the information in a way that lets the human make faster, better decisions under pressure. In air combat, the side that decides first and acts first usually wins. The F-16V is built around that principle. Then there is the data link. The Viper comes standard with Link 16, a secure tactical data network that connects it to other aircraft, ground stations, AWACS, and even ships at sea. In older fighters, you were mostly alone with your radar and your wingman's voice on the radio. In the F-16V, you are part of a networked swarm. If another Viper or an F-35 detects a threat 200 kilometers away, that information appears on your display almost instantly. You can coordinate attacks, share targeting data, and even fire missiles at targets you cannot see yourself because another aircraft in the network is guiding the shot. And the weapons loadout has expanded to match the sensors. The F-16V is cleared to carry the AM-120 AMRAAM and the newer AIM-9X Sidewinder, the same beyond visual range and short-range missiles that equip the F-22 and F-35. It can also carry advanced air-to-ground weapons like the Joint Direct Attack Munition, small-diameter bomb, and a range of precision-guided missiles. The airframe might be 50 years old, but the weapons and sensors it carries are cutting edge. So when you add it all up, the F-16V is essentially a 4th-generation plus fighter with some 5th-generation capabilities grafted on. It is not stealthy. It does not have the sensor fusion depth of an F-35, but it is fast, maneuverable, heavily armed. And now it can see and share information across distances that would have seemed impossible when the first F-16 rolled off the production line in the 1970s. Now let's talk about who is actually flying this thing and why they are spending so much money on it. Start with Taiwan, because this is where the stakes are the most visible and the most immediate. Taiwan operates one of the largest F-16 fleets outside the United States, over 200 aircraft, and they have committed to upgrading 141 of them to the F-16V standard in a program worth roughly $5 billion when you include all the support infrastructure, weapons, and training. On top of that, Taiwan ordered 66 brand new F-16V, Block 70 jets directly from Lockheed Martin, adding another $8 billion to the total. Why? Because Taiwan looks across the strait and sees the People's Liberation Army Air Force growing every year. Hundreds of J-10, J-11, J-16, and the newer stealth J-20 fighters. Taiwan cannot match China in numbers. They will never be able to. So instead, they are betting on quality, on training, and on turning their existing fleet into something that can fight smarter. The F-16V gives Taiwan a few critical advantages. First, the APG-83 radar and the AIM-120D missiles mean that Taiwanese pilots can engage Chinese aircraft at ranges where older jets would still be searching. Second, the data link and sensor fusion let Taiwan's fighter force operate as a coordinated network, maximizing their smaller numbers by sharing information and supporting each other in real time. Third, the upgraded electronic warfare suite makes it harder for Chinese missiles and radars to track and kill the Vipers, especially in the chaotic early hours of a conflict when jamming and deception are critical. Taiwan is not upgrading the F-16 because it is cheap or convenient. They are doing it because in their specific scenario, a smaller force of highly capable networked fighters has a better chance of surviving and inflicting damage than a larger force of outdated jets. Every F-16V that Taiwan puts in the air is a problem that Chinese planners have to account for, a threat that cannot be easily dismissed. Fly west across Asia and you land in Greece, another country that has gone all in on the F-16V. Greece is upgrading 83 of its F-16 to the Viper standard in a deal worth around $1.5 billion with deliveries already underway. And they are not stopping there. Greece has also ordered new F-35s and is modernizing its entire air force in what looks like the most aggressive defense buildup in southeastern Europe in decades. Why the urgency? Look at the map. Greece shares the Aegean Sea with Turkey, a neighbor that also operates a large and modern air force and has a long history of territorial disputes with Athens. Beyond that, the Eastern Mediterranean has turned into one of the most contested regions in the world, with overlapping claims on energy resources, shipping lanes, and airspace. For Greece, the F-16V is both a military tool and a diplomatic signal. On the military side, it gives the Hellenic Air Force a credible counter to Turkish F-16 and a platform that can hold its own in a dense, contested environment full of overlapping air defense networks and electronic warfare. The upgraded radar and weapons mean that Greek pilots can engage threats farther out and with more precision, critical in a region where the margins between peacetime intercepts and actual combat are razor thin. On the diplomatic side, upgrading to the Viper standard deepens Greece's interoperability with the United States and NATO. Greek F-16Vs can plug seamlessly into joint exercises, share data with American and allied aircraft, and operate as part of a larger networked force in any future conflict. That makes Greece a more valuable partner and gives Athens more leverage in discussions about regional security and defense commitments. Now shift east again to the Pacific, where South Korea and Singapore have both committed to the F-16V in major ways. South Korea is upgrading 134 F-16C/D fighters to the V standard, a program worth roughly $3 billion. For South Korea, the calculus is straightforward. They face North Korea across the DMZ, a regime with a growing missile arsenal and an air force that, while outdated, still poses a threat in sheer numbers. Beyond that, South Korea watches China's military expansion carefully and understands that any future conflict on the peninsula would likely involve Chinese aircraft and air defense systems. The F-16V gives South Korea a proven, reliable platform that can handle both the North Korean threat and contribute to deterrence against more advanced adversaries. The upgraded sensors and weapons mean that South Korean pilots can operate effectively in a high-threat environment, and the interoperability with U.S. forces stationed in Korea makes the combined defense posture stronger. Singapore, meanwhile, has taken a different approach. They ordered new-build F-16V Block 70 aircraft and are also upgrading older jets, creating a mixed fleet that will serve well into the 2040s. For a small city-state with limited airspace and no strategic depth, Singapore's Air Force has to be extremely capable and efficient. The F-16V fits that requirement perfectly. It is affordable compared to fifth-generation fighters, it is versatile enough to handle air defense and strike missions, and it integrates smoothly with Singapore's existing defense infrastructure. But the Viper story does not stop with the major players. Look at the full map and you see upgrades and new orders spreading across continents. Morocco is buying new F-16V Block 72 aircraft. Bulgaria is upgrading its fleet. Slovakia operates the Viper standard. Bahrain, the Philippines, and others are either upgrading or buying new. Even the United States Air Force is converting older F-16 to the V configuration, adding over 300 aircraft to the Viper fleet. What you are seeing is a global bet on a proven platform. Countries that cannot afford or do not need the F-35 are choosing the F-16V because it offers a massive capability boost at a fraction of the cost. And because so many nations are adopting the same standard, the Viper is creating its own network effect. Spare parts, training programs, weapons integration, and software updates are all shared across dozens of air forces, making the system more sustainable and more effective over time. So let's come back to the original question. Why are so many countries spending so much money on an airframe that first flew when Richard Nixon was still president? The answer is simple. In air combat, the platform is only part of the equation. Sensors, weapons, and networking matter just as much, sometimes more. The F-16 airframe is still fundamentally sound. It is fast, maneuverable, reliable, and affordable to operate. What it lacked was modernize and a modern brain. The V upgrade fixes that completely. For most air forces, the F-16V offers the best balance of cost, capability, and availability. It can fight effectively against advanced threats. It integrates into modern networked battle spaces. It can carry the latest weapons. And it does all of this without requiring the massive infrastructure investments and training pipelines that come with the F-35. And here is the uncomfortable truth that air forces around the world understand very well. Most of the fighter aircraft flying in 2025 are not 5th generation. They are upgraded 4th generation. The skies over the Pacific, Europe, the Middle East are filled with Su-35s, J-16, Rafales, Eurofighters, and yes, hundreds and hundreds of F-16. The F-16V is designed to win in that actual environment, not in some hypothetical future where every fighter is stealth. The countries buying the Viper are not betting on nostalgia. They are betting on proven capability, on a platform that has been tested in combat for 40 years and is now being armed with the tools to stay relevant for another 20. When Taiwan commits over $13 billion to the F-16V program, they are saying they believe this aircraft can hold the line against a peer adversary. When Greece accelerates its upgrades while watching its borders, they are saying the Viper gives them the credible deterrence they need. When South Korea, Singapore, Morocco, and Bulgaria all choose the same path, they are saying the same thing in different languages. The F-16 Falcon is not retiring. It is being reborn. And the $25 billion being spent to make it terrifying again is one of the smartest, quietest, and most important defense investments happening on the planet right now. So here is the final question for you. If you were a fighter pilot facing an F-16V in the sky tomorrow, knowing it could see you from 150 kilometers away, share your position with a dozen other aircraft instantly, and launch missiles you cannot outrun, would you still think of it as just an old jet from the 1970s? Or would you finally understand why air forces around the world are making the Viper the backbone of their defense for the next generation? Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode.